Well, good morning.
Good
Lisa
morning,
Farnsworth.
Graham. Hi, how are you?
Managing Director of Stormsaver.com.
That's right. Yep, that's right. Yep. Give it a bit of a plug there. Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm really chuffed that you come to see us.
Oh, you're welcome. No problem.
I'm really chuffed that you've supporting our efforts to promote the water and wastewater industry.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. Brilliant idea. So.
And wow, how long have we known each other?
Oh, goodness, we were just talking about that. It's got to be 15, 20 years, hasn't it? It's a long time. Yeah. So, and we're still both going, still both plugging away at the water industry.
Why is it I look older than you? Perhaps I was older when I first met you. And
I'll tell you what face cream I use, and then you'll...
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you might have a few years on me, Graham. But
thank you very
we'll
much.
probably still retire at the same time.
Oh, so you do less years and retire, and
That's
I do
right.
more years and I carry on.
That's the deal.
Okay. So, Stormsaver, tell me just how you started, how it all came about.
We actually started in the rainwater harvesting industry fresh out of university. So I set up the business with my business partner, Michael, and we set up a business, first of all, that went for about 3 years. But in those days, rainwater harvesting just wasn't heard of at all. So we spent hours and hours and hours just banging on architects' doors, trying to meet with consulting engineers, trying to sell the concept. So that took a few years, and unfortunately the first business went into liquidation. But from that, we learnt some really good lessons. So about believing in ourselves, about believing in our product, not necessarily listening to other people on the outside that didn't really understand what we were trying to do. So we set up again. We knew we had a really good product, and by then we generated a lot of interest. And so Stormsaver was born in 2003. And from literally day one, it flew. So we were, our first project, our first order in was for the Royal Bank of Scotland in Gogarburn. And that then followed with 8 schools up in the Newcastle area, which incidentally, we've just had an order in last week. So they've been going all that time, and they've just had an order to upgrade the control panels.
Wow.
So that's really great that they've come back to us, and that the system's lasted that long without needing...
Customer retention.
Yeah, exactly,
Wow.
yeah. So from then on, it really grew from the two of us. So we've now got 24 people that work for us. We don't just do rainwater harvesting now, we do a host of other products, which I shall talk about in the course of this podcast. And we have great fun. We really believe in our product. We really believe in what we're trying to do, and we all really enjoy what we do as well.
Must admit, on the occasions that I've done a flying visit with you guys, everyone's smiling and
We're like a little family
place.
at Stormsaver.
A luxurious barn that I wouldn't mind. Perhaps one day if you sell it.
Yeah, you could live in that quite happily.
It's nice,
yeah.
isn't it? Really
We're
nice.
just extending the offices now.
Oh,
actually. Yeah, because we keep growing, keep employing engineers, and we need more space.
Yeah.
So it's a lovely place.
Rainwater harvesting. I must admit, I've never grappled with the concept, but so we're getting a lot more rain now, I guess. So, and I think with the environmental issues and companies wanting to be more environmentally compliant, carbon reduction and all that sort of thing, then this rainwater harvesting concept is basically coming into its own now.
Yeah, definitely. It had a real heyday back when we first started, and lots of people started doing rainwater harvesting. Lots of people that weren't expert in it kind of jumped on the bandwagon, started doing their own system. And so we did have a period where actually people weren't really doing it right. They thought, it's just a tank and a pump. So I'll just, that's easy. But it's not that easy. The controls are the heart of the system. And that's something that Stormsaver have always done. We've always had our own system. We don't buy from anyone else. We manufacture it ourselves at our pretty offices in Newark.
Yeah,
and therefore we can be flexible with people, and we can do what people actually ask us to do. So if they want something specific, we can do that. And so what then happened is the industry kind of went through a bit of a period there where people were trying to grasp oh, actually, hang on, this isn't as simple as perhaps we first thought. I do need to use a specialist. And so now we've built ourselves a reputation in the industry with the consulting engineers and architects and also the end users. We are now seeing the industry grow again. So we're actually, we've got about 2,000 systems installed now across the UK. We've got about 800 service contracts as well around the UK for all types of different rainwater systems in buildings. So, so the industry is now starting to grow again. And I think we're now in a time where before everybody was all about energy. It was all about CO2. And even in the last 12 to 18 months, suddenly water is right up there on the radar now because people like, so the chief executive of the Environment Agency, Sir James Bevan, he said that actually we're going to run out of water in England in 25 years' time. That's actually a scary prospect because you can't do anything without water. So it's no good sort of worrying about CO2 if actually you haven't got enough water to live and manufacture the things that you need to live.
So we've got supermarkets, and I've recently been talking to David Lloyd Leisure.
Yeah.
There's been a client of ours on off for 18 years.
Yeah.
Back on now with a water and wastewater project. Had a chat with them about rainwater harvesting. Due to have a meeting with the guys in the next 3 to 4 weeks about the water and wastewater strategy going forward, which is a combination of lots of different things from alternative water supply sources to which rainwater's an alternative supply. Yeah. And they've got huge roof spaces. So it's a matter of building it into the design.
Yeah, definitely. It's getting, I think, we work with a lot of consulting engineers. They're all the top consulting engineers, all the top architects, top construction companies. But ultimately it comes down to the end users. It's them that have to push the consultants to say, no, I want this. Because I think, again, in the early days, it was a lot about money saving. So we were asked constantly on every project, what's the payback? What's the payback? But actually, we rarely get asked that now, because now it's about ticking boxes. It's about making sure that you're getting your BREEAM points and you get your excellence rating when you build your building. It's about making sure that you are actually sticking to any corporate social responsibility statements you're making about water, about protecting your local environment. It's about making less of an impact, and it's not okay to just draw water and abstract water now for your needs. And it's not okay to just, allow rainwater to not be captured and controlled and then removed off-site properly. You have to do all those things properly.
I think where David Lloyd Leisure is concerned, and there's a misconception about leisure centres and pools, a lot consider that the biggest area of water use is in the pools. It's not.
No.
Because David Lloyd Leisure, from day one when we first got in touch with them and started doing a national water project, one of the first things we did when it was owned by Whitbread was install sub-meters to every pool in the place. So there's plunge pool, main pool, spa. Yeah. And it transpires that most of the water is used in the showers, toilets.
Exactly.
And the taps.
Yeah.
So you start driving down the domestic side. I mean, all that, this must be, I don't know, 15, 16 WC sit-downs. Yeah. You get through 100, 800 people going through there in a day or so. They're all going to go to the toilet at least once.
Exactly, yeah.
So if we can get that, harvested, I can think of one. Leeds is an excellent site. Got that cough on her.
I know. Had it for ages.
Where all the water goes into it's like a little pond.
Oh yeah.
And it's quite, I say little pond, it's a big pond. But then, that could be used. So you need that imagination and once you, I think one of the areas that customers are resistant to is if it's an existing site, there's this concept that it's difficult to retrofit it. What's your take on that?
Well, it is harder to retrofit something. But a lot of that has traditionally been to do with the fact that you're putting a tank underground. So we've just come up with a new product called the Storm Station. So that's basically an above ground all-in-one rainwater harvesting system. So if you imagine like a shipping container, it's that sort of size, and within that is your main body of your storage for your water. So that can be 3,000, 5,000, 7.5, 10, 15 or 20,000. So
litres.
Litres in the storage. And then it's also got a built-in plant room that's got all of your filters, all of your controls, all your pumps, everything.
There's a little maintenance man sitting there then.
It doesn't come with a maintenance man, unfortunately. You'll have to call us and then we'll send one.
It's big enough.
No, it is. I mean, it's lovely. It's quite nice. It's got a heater.
Yeah,
It's got a light.
I saw it.
It's very nice.
Pictures on the website, folks.
Yeah, solar panels on the roof. So actually, it's carbon neutral as well. So it actually generates its own energy. So that unit we designed for the retrofit market, so that literally it can come off the back of a lorry. So if you think, for example, like Euro garages or the out-of-town KFCs and McDonald's, somewhere like that, you've got lots and lots of them. You take a little 3,000, we can brand it, so we could paint it red with a nice light golden arches on it, stick it at the back of your unit, and you plumb it straight into your toilets. You know, it's good advertising, and actually you're saving water, and it's about perfect size for the roof area that you've got to collect off as well for your usage. So we designed that for the retrofit market. It's a great product. We're still continuing to work on that now and develop different versions of that product. But what's also happened is we did a press release on it on LinkedIn, and the construction industry have picked up on it. And they love it. So we've been really busy talking to lots of companies about actually using that during the site construction phases. So they'll collect off of their site cabins, divert it into the rainwater harvesting system because it's portable, the unit as well. Use it for the 12 to 18 months, you know, that they can rent it out for 12 to 18 months, use that water on site, because the construction industry is one of the biggest water users in the UK. So we need to reduce the amount of water they are using for things that doesn't need to be potable water either, for mixing concrete, washing down tyres on cars, dust suppression. It can be, you know, secondary water like rainwater. So they can have that unit, and then when they're finished with it, we can move it on to the next site.
Well, you mentioned what comes under alternative water supplies. Now we've just been starting to push a little bit more like alternative water supplies from ground sources, like boreholes and stuff.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And over the last week, we're talking to a dairy and a company in the northwest. Now, between them, they use 240,000 cubic metres of water.
Oh my goodness!
A quarter of a million cubic metres. Right? So we've done geological.
What are you using that for? Is that processed water?
Yeah, the dairy, it's processed and washing down. And
right, okay.
Some of it goes in the product, but not an awful lot. There's a lot of washing down and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily need, you know, high-grade potable water. It still has to be bug-free.
Yeah.
So we've looked at both of them, and they both of them have got ground sources in the area. Both of them would get a licence. So straight away, you can wipe off 240,000 cubic metres taken off the main water grid. So you're going off-grid onto an alternative supply.
Yeah.
And that's just one foul swoop. Now, that's a shed load of water. I don't know, 240,000 cubic metres. That would feed thousands of families,
that's huge,
sustain thousands of families for decades, wouldn't it, in the UK?
See, what I... we need to get the message across to people so for the last month we've had so much rain. It's been almost depressing. I'm the only person that actually, you know, is like really excited when it rains.
I think you go out there in a bucket, don't you?
I do. I go and dance. So the rain we've had has just been phenomenal, and I often get asked, well, it doesn't rain in the summer, and that's when you have the droughts, so that's when you need it. Well, firstly, we're nearly in July and all it's done is rain. Yeah. So you do get rain in the summer. And actually the climate in the UK is one of fairly consistent rain. And even with a small amount of rain, you can actually collect quite a lot off of a roof area and store it. And secondly, it's trying to get that concept over to people that if in the winter you're using rainwater instead of the mains water supply, that means the reservoirs are fuller. So when it comes to the summer, you've got a bigger storage of water in the reservoirs. Therefore, you're not depleting that supply when you don't need to be doing that. So that's what we need to get across to people, is that, you are using rainwater now when you've got it, so that your mains water is there when you need it. And there's lots of work going on in the moment trying to get people to change their mindset. So, the London plan has got some ambitious targets for reducing water use from, actually the general water use is 164 litres per person per day, but I think in London it can get up to 185.
Right.
They're trying to reduce that to 105 litres per person per day, and that's a really ambitious target. And that's going to take not only behavioural change, but that is also going to take alternative sources of water. And, the mayor knows that, and the government knows that, and therefore in the London plan, it says about you have to be looking at rainwater harvesting. You can't just use mains water. And if you do want to just use mains water, you have to justify that. You have to justify why you're not using rainwater harvesting. So we're seeing moves like that. We're seeing moves in the Welsh government who, they actually are adopting Schedule 3 of the Flood Act. And so that is meaning that everyone has to have attenuation on their sites. They can't just not deal with it. And as part of that, they're saying you have to recycle that water. We've got Ofwat. They're doing consultations on water use and making sure that people are not using alternative water sources. And these are all things that weren't happening 18 months ago. So it's really positive, and it's actually meaning that the industry is getting a real boost at the moment.
I think water deregulation's played a huge part in that.
Hugely.
2 years ago, deregulated. We were really quiet, and all of a sudden, wallop, bang, it's gone nuts.
Yeah.
With carbon and environment and global warming and everything, which is great for business, but good for the environment because it's raising the profile.
Yeah.
And I remember there's quite a large automobile company that we deal with, and they're building more sites and refurbishing sites, and they do these water recycling systems. Only yesterday, I came across one new site. Less than 12 months, and the water recycling system is basically, it's stinking. It's inoperable because there's something wrong with it anyway.
Right.
It recycles the water from the valeting bays.
Oh, crikey.
Why? I need to get hold of the procurement manager there, who I know very well, and say, look, speak to these guys because you're recycling your water, but these guys will catch the rainwater and do recycling all as one, and you won't get the problems that you've got now.
I mean, water falls from the sky. It's clean, it's clear. It's only when it hits the roof area or the ground that it picks up your contamination.
I'll give you some numbers.
And everything. Yeah, please.
Average 5 cubic metres per day for the average automobile site, these particular sites, and they're not unusual. It's between 4 and 5 cubic metres a day. That's 1,500 cubic metres a year, 1,500 cubic metres a year used on washing cars. Now, so if you don't recycle that, it goes straight down the drain into the environment. 1,500 cubic metres, that's what, 3.5, 4 grand a year?
Yeah. I bet they've got a big roof area as well, haven't they?
A lot of them have, because it's where all the cars go. You've got large pitches and you've got all these. I mean, why not? If you're in the valeting bays, you're collecting the grey water, collect the grey water. The valeting bays, I know quite a lot of sites have got 6 valeting bays.
Yeah.
And customers want these cars. They were washed every day,
Yeah, I think it's
we're using drinking water to wash a car.
It's just I think it's just crazy. And I went in the train station today, and it's a lady who's my sort of age. She popped the tap on, and there was even a sign saying, "To conserve water, please turn off the tap." Yeah. She went straight to the dryer. Yeah. I sort of looked at her, and I was like, I'll turn your tap off then. It's just, people just don't understand the importance of it. And I think that it has to come from higher up. It's got to come from government. They're being very, they've just produced their 25-year environment plan. And it mentions a lot about water, but not once in there does it mention rainwater harvesting. And I just can't understand how they can't have joined up thinking. It's time to think. If you are managing and you're saying we have to manage that rain and you have to collect it in attenuation systems, which we do, incidentally, if you're collecting it in an attenuation system, you're just sending it off to drain again. Why not? You've got it in a tank already.
That's the reason for these podcasts.
Yeah, exactly. Educate. Make that legislation. It's time for the government to step up and actually do something about water. People are just pussyfooting around.
You mentioned
really.
about attenuation systems, so that's the collection of the water whether it hits the driveways and things like that.
Yeah, so flood management.
So on a new site, that would work really well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so most sites now, very few sites will be built without attenuation.
A new car lot, an automobile. So if they build a new site, they can have these attenuation systems.
Yes,
and collects a huge amount of water.
You can collect loads of water. So attenuation system will collect from the groundwater as well.
Right, yeah.
So for a rainwater harvesting system, you don't want to collect all of that water. You're looking really for your runoff from the roof. So what we do is, in a nutshell, you're putting a tank in anyway. So what we want to do is we call it active attenuation. So we put in a little pumping chamber effectively, and rather than that water going to drain, we pump that water back into the building. Now, this is quite a new concept because before if you imagine your attenuation system is there so that when you have what they would call a 1 in 100 year storm, a really heavy storm, that needs to be empty so that it can have the whole capacity to collect all of that storm water. So with your rainwater harvesting system, you want that full. So you can't have a full tank when your rain arrives. So what we do is if that tank is full, let's say it's 80% full, we have some software that talks to the Met Office every sort of 3 to 4 minutes, I think it is, getting signals for incoming weather patterns. So if it detects that that a storm is coming, it will know what the intensity of that rainfall is going to be. And it will say, well, my tank's 80% full, and I know that my safe level to be able to attenuate that is 50%. So I need to release 30. And what it will do, it will monitor that over the next couple of days. And we all know the weather in the UK, it can change. The weatherman never seems to be right. So if the storm veers off, you've not dumped all your rainwater, the valve will close and you've still got all your water in the tank to reuse. If the storm actually hits, by the time it gets there, it will have opened the valve more and more, and eventually it will have the safe capacity in the tank so that water will just refill up to 80% again. So it means that you're saving money, you're saving on the install costs because you're already putting that tank in, and you're actually making a system that effectively would mostly remain empty and not actually do anything. It's generating money for you, it's generating water for you. So that system, we're just starting to get that specified now. We've got our first one going in at Snows Hill Wharf, which is in Birmingham, I think.
What sort of application is that then?
Application in terms of...
Is it a building or...?
That's a big building. I think it might even be a railway station.
Oh, wow.
I'm not sure, actually. I ought to have found that out before I came. But that's quite a big site. That's our first big one. And then we've got a care home, which we're about to get an order for, and a garden centre. So we'll have some really good case studies going on the website soon about those. And, we're getting consultants, Arabs in particular, really keen on it, looking to specify it. So you will see more of those.
We ought to get Arabs up here.
You should.
Onto the podcast.
You should. I've got some good contacts.
We'll do that then.
Put you in touch with.
We'll talk later. So what's the new products you've got out now?
So new products, so we've got the active attenuation. We've been doing that for about a year now. Like I've just said, that's gearing up.
That's all on your website, yeah?
That's all on, everything's on the website, yeah. So we're actually partnering with a company called Storm Harvester. They're also on LinkedIn if anyone wants to look them up. So, really lovely team. So we've got the sole supply for their kit in the UK. We have got, obviously, the rainwater harvesting is still going. We've got the maintenance side of the business. So that's been going about 6 years now. So we're not only maintaining just our own systems, but we're also maintaining other people's systems as well. We're upgrading them, so systems that maybe in some cases have never worked because they weren't man enough for the job.
We've seen a few of those.
Yes, we've seen some crazy sites. So we go in and we basically take the controls out. We leave the tank because that's fine. And we go in, we put our controls in, we get it up and running, we get them servicing, get them saving money again. So we've got that side, a real growth side of the business. So new products is the active attenuation. The other new product we've got is a grey water system. So we've just partnered with a company called Hydroloop.
Was that recycle the...
So recycling your...
water,
water's from the basin and water from the showers.
All right.
Then that can be reused for flushing toilets and your washing machine
use
and irrigation.
Large hotel, small hotel?
So the system that we've got, it's a domestic unit at the moment, but you can put it in what they call a cascade, so you can link them up so that for a commercial use you can actually install them in commercial buildings. It's a bit different it's a beautiful unit, fantastically designed by so Arthur and Sabine that run the company. They've done an amazing job of it. The technology's great. Arthur's, he's constantly innovating and redesigning and coming up with new ideas. I think Sabine tears her hair out a few times, a bit like I do with Michael. I
did wonder why I'd not missing.
He's busy. He's in London with Sabine actually at the moment today. Yeah. So they've produced this unit, and it doesn't use filters, which have always traditionally been a real problem for grey water harvesting because they clog up so quickly, really high maintenance, high running costs. This one doesn't work with filters. This one works with, so I've just written it down because this is quite new to me. So the way it works, it uses 5 different elements. So first of all, it uses sedimentation. Then it's followed by flotation methods. So basically they're putting bubbles in the water, and the dirt and all of the bacteria and everything sticks to the edges of the bubbles in the foam.
Sounds like a mini trade effluent treatment plant to me.
It kind of is a little bit, yeah. And
like dissolved air flotation.
Yeah, so then they go dissolved air flotation. So they all rise to the top. It takes it to the top, and then it'll skim it off the top. And then they use then after they've got an aerobic bioreactor, and then it's followed with UV disinfection.
Wow.
And this is all within a really beautiful, sleek unit that's like really beautifully designed. So it's a really great product. We picked it up about a year or 2 ago at a trade show. So we've signed an agreement with them for sole supply in the UK. So far, the reaction's been really good. People
on the website?
really like it. It is on the website.
Oh,
yeah.
Great stuff. I'll have a look at that.
Yes. So that's a Hydroloop. It's called. Again, it's won loads of awards across Europe. So. Really good product. We're really pleased to be partnering with them on that.
So you're slightly diversifying off the rainwater harvesting into the grey water recycling.
It's about having sister products that like the attenuation that complement it, and they're things that we've tried to do things before we set up a business doing guttering and that sort of element of things, but that wasn't our core business. It wasn't our core expertise, and so we came back. And we said, well, what do we do well? We do controls well. We do cleaning up water well. And so that's where we're at. We've decided to expand, but within something that we're confident we can offer our customers the best expert knowledge and service that they're looking for.
What about, so I just had a thought about leisure centres, like David Lloyd and others, where they backwash the swimming pools every day. So 30 litres per bay that gets dumped. Through the backwash filters. There's an awful lot of water there that could be recycled there, isn't there?
There is, yeah.
So if you essentially had rainwater harvesting on a David Lloyd and you had grey water collection on a David Lloyd and you had an alternative water suppliers in a borehole, you're actually...
You're self-sufficient, aren't you?
You're really self-sufficient. Yeah. And I think that's given me a light bulb moment to have a word with the David Lloyd legend in its couple of weeks about that concept.
I think some water companies even offer an incentive for you to, to be off grid effectively. And I know that
they're paying a token gesture to that because.
Possibly, but if it's money in a client's pocket, it doesn't really matter. And I know that some water companies now, if you're doing water reuse on site on a new build, they'll waive your connection fee to the storm drain.
All right.
Now, per house, so particularly with Anglian Water, they do it. We were talking to them. Per house, that's about £732, they told me.
All right.
So actually, when in a domestic scale, if you're looking at spending... So I'd say £2,500-3,000 on a domestic system. That's a significant amount of money. And if you're a housing developer and you're building 20 of those, that only goes up and up and up. So actually, it's a real incentive coming from the water companies. And I think the water companies, they've got a lot on with leakage. That's at the top of their agenda rather than alternative water sources. And I think they want to do rainwater harvesting. They see the benefit in rainwater harvesting and they want to encourage it, but they want companies like us to drive to drive it and to actually come up with the solutions. So,
well, if we must, we must.
Yeah, I can do that. That's no problem.
You can indeed. You can.
Yeah,
indeed.
but we've got a good relationship with quite a lot of the water companies now, especially after deregulation, and they're having to step up and differentiate themselves and show that they care about that side of things as well. We've seen a lot more interest, definitely.
I'm inviting all the water companies onto this podcast.
Brilliant.
So I need them all here.
Can you tell me when they're here, and I'll stand outside the door and get them tea and coffee. Give them my card.
Well, there's one or two. We've had Nick Butt from U Water, which is a part of the U Energy Group.
Yeah.
I've known Nick Butt for decades. And we had quite a riveting discussion on the...
Everyone knows you, Graham.
Yeah, I know, too many. Too well known. I don't think I'll be missed, though, not by the water companies. Maybe. I'm trying to build bridges.
Yeah.
I think the days are gone now where we need to start building bridges with the water companies.
Yeah.
And work more closely with them if they'll allow us. Some of them will, some of them are a bit prohibitive. They need to tap into our ideas and our the way we work and a whole range of other things, because we're the loop between, the connection between the water company and the customers.
And you create a happy client, and that's what they want ultimately, isn't it?
So what other? I saw another product that was a tank on the roof. What was that about?
Oh, a tank on the roof. Well, we do what we call the solo system.
All right.
So that is where you can actually collect the water at roof level. Well, you're talking about the blue roofs, aren't you?
Yeah.
Ah, right. Yes,
blue
the blue roof one. So this is still really kind of in a concept stage. So we're working with a well-known consultant, Carl Harrop. He's got an amazing credentials working for Borough Happold and WSP, and he's set up his own business. I think it's called Water Engineers, and he's focusing on green roofs and blue roofs, so he knows a lot about that. So we've got a really good relationship with him, and we've been working with him to come up with the idea of kind of, again, this joined up thinking, bringing different products together.
We need to get him on the podcast.
Do you know, Carl would be brilliant, actually. I'm sure he'd welcome the opportunity. I will do. So basically, the idea is rather than, the active attenuation, where we're collecting off the rainwater off the roof, and it's going underground into the tank, then to the rainwater harvesting, someone's flipping it the other way. So if a client's got a blue roof, which is their attenuation at the top, we can then use that to gravity feed down. So actually you're not using as much CO2 with pumps as well. And effectively it's not, it's a new concept, but it's using existing tried and tested technology. So anyone that's looking for a blue roof system, which are becoming more and more popular, particularly in the cities now, because there isn't the ground to be putting attenuation in, then we can use that water.
There's an organisation or company called ISLE Utilities.
Okay.
ISLE Utilities, and they bring innovative products to market.
Right. Okay.
Bang that into Google. Have a word with them, because they actively pursue all things water and wastewater.
Okay.
And then help bring them to market. I came across them in a water retail conference.
Right.
A guy called Piers heads that up, I think.
Yeah.
But that might be another avenue for you. Well,
there's loads of amazing innovations coming in the water market. It's a really exciting time, actually. And, some things that, I sort of saw the other day, my accountant actually sent me a link with a toilet cistern that actually has a sink in the top.
Yeah, I saw that.
And then you saw that, and then it comes through in and feeds the toilet. I'm not quite sure how, once it's been washed, effectively it's grey water, isn't it?
Yeah,
so
it is,
I don't know how that would work, but it's it's a great idea. Often I run my tap at home, notoriously my water is always warm out of my cold tap, and I hate it because it's wasting so much water. I think if I could just collect that, I could use that to wash my car.
We're in the business though, we appreciate it, I guess.
Yes, we need to get other people appreciating it. I tell you what, turn the water supply off for a day. You'd soon get people realising how important it is.
Oh, I remember years and years ago there was a drought in Yorkshire, I think 80 something. And I could see this coming, and Yorkshire Water were talking about standpipes. So being a bit of a smart ass, I ran out and got some large water tanks from B&Q, got a guy to deliver them, filled them up, put them in the cellar, about 1 cubic metre each, something like that. So I'll be all right for quite some time. It's not so.
No,
because when when the water supply's shut off, you don't realise how much water you actually use, do you?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
yeah.
3 people in a bath.
Yeah.
Well, that's half a tank, and then by the time within a day or so, you got through 1 tank.
Yeah.
And then someone grasped me up saying that Graham Mann's storing water in his cellar. It shouldn't be.
So you were a front runner, you see.
Yeah, I got in trouble with Yorkshire Water with that one. Yeah,
I was still at school then, Graham.
Were you? Oh, yeah, of course you were.
Yeah.
Listen, it's lovely to see you. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for the invite and
for spending the time to come and see us.
It's a great initiative. I hope it takes off.
Yeah.
And, you know, get some interesting people and
get some guys who you know, designers and engineers in your industry, to come on here, because the more we get the message out within the water industry, you know, the better it is for everybody, the environment, customers, and the like. And thank you very much, Lisa Farnsworth, MD and shareholder for Stormsaver.com.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Graham.
Bye.
Bye.